Thank you, Father Zolman. And I do want to add a personal, and I'm very aware, a shared note of thanks to you for your energy and courage and commitment to safeguarding internationally. And I'm very aware of your gentle accompaniment and support for victims and giving a voice to those who are vulnerable. So I really appreciate it. Thank you. I think it's delightful that we have this heading of Women of Faith, Women of Strength, and we have Sister Simona with us, because I'm just delighted. I was delighted when you were appointed as secretary, but then to become prefect. It was fantastic. I think we should congratulate her for that. So it's a great honor for me to introduce you. I need to explain that Sister Pat Murray is going to be the voice of Sister Simona, in the sense that she will read her talk. And Sister Pat Murray also needs very little introduction. I've never said this to you, Pat, but I do refer to you as an institution, because you are remarkable. Your work with the Union of International Superiors General for Women is just, yes, it speaks for itself, and I thank you very much for everything you're doing. And I know that Sister Roxanne is also here, and Sister Mary John is here somewhere as well. I saw her earlier. So we're delighted, because we have that special link between us, indeed, in many ways. A little introduction to Sister Simona for anyone who has no sense of who you are, but they might not know a lot of these details. But you were a professional nurse by your first profession, as it were, prior to joining the Consolata Missionary Sisters. Sister Simona is Italian, appointed prefect for the Dicastery for the Institutes of Consecrated Life and Societies of Apostolic Life by the late Pope Francis in January this year. And previously you were secretary of the same Dicastery since October 2023, and the first woman to be appointed prefect of a Dicastery of the Holy See. We are so privileged to have you with us. And you've also survived being a Superior General. So for those of you who are in the room who've been through that process will know exactly what that's like. Okay, I will invite Sister Pat to come forward now to give your talk. Thank you.
It's a privilege to be the voice of Sister Simona, and I hope I can do the text justice. It's very inspirational. So the title, Women of Faith, Women of Strength. Pope Leo writes, before being a believer, we are called to be human. At the beginning of this conference, I would like to pause briefly with you to contemplate the stories of women who, with faith, fortitude, grace, and hope, weave humanity. For you created my inmost being, you knit me together in my mother's womb, says Psalm 139. These are women who have received from God the secret art of weaving, and they embody it. In them and with them, God weaves and reweaves. They weave bodies, they weave thoughts, feelings, sensibilities, desires, dreams, and hopes. And they weave bonds, they weave bridges, they weave safe spaces, fashioning tents within which one can rest, regain strength, and find shelter from sun and rain. They weave the strong and delicate fabric of mutual care, the one that does not weigh you down or suffocate you, but rests upon you with immense respect and tenderness. Like a light and resilient cloak that stays with and within you, like a blessing, even when you set off and venture on the most treacherous paths of life. With the same faith, fortitude, grace, and hope that grants them access to the mystery of life's weave and warp, these women also know how to mend its torn fabrics, wounded bodies, frayed lives, fragmented thoughts, broken feelings, tainted sensibilities, imprisoned desires, broken dreams, extinguished hopes, all find in them a place to dwell, to speak, to bleed, to cry out, to weep, and perhaps to mend and begin hoping again. Elizabeth and Mary. In a town in the mountains of Judah, two pregnant women meet and bless each other. But why am I so favored that the mother of my Lord should come to me? As soon as the voice of your greeting reached my ears, the babe in my womb leapt for joy. Elizabeth comes from the experience of infertility, with all it entails in that time and culture. Mary comes from the experience of a blessed encounter that upends her life and places her in a situation of risk. Both are weavers in their wombs. Prophecy, joy, consolation, and salvation intertwine. Between them, the delicate yet strong threads of a sisterly bond are strengthened, a bond in which each can recognize and affirm what the other carries within. Mary's voice, her shalom, touches Elizabeth's depths, causing her child to leap. Elizabeth's voice is a human echo of the Spirit, confirming and blessing Mary. Years later, on the banks of the Jordan, Elizabeth's son and Mary's son will recognize each other and bring to fullness the history of Israel's prophecy. But here in the hills of Judah, all is foreshadowed and intimately lived in a profound, visceral, nocturnal, lunar communication made of quick steps, breath, voices, vibrations, stirrings. A communication that opens the inner senses to intercept life, to perceive what grows in the dark, and to recognize it unmistakably. A communication that sets things in motion, that orients towards a life that has not yet come to light, but is there, alive, pulsing. We do not see its contours with our eyes, as in sunlight, but we feel its heartbeat with our hearts in the silence of the night and detect its mystery by the moon's soft glow. Recently, Chiara Giaccardi wrote about hope. She said, the Sanskrit root spa means to stretch towards a goal, lean forward, lose balance, and reach beyond oneself and the moment's circumstances. It is about going beyond. Hope is a movement made without certainties, sustained by trust and the resonance that goodness produces in us. We can hope because we have already experienced something good, because we feel that the good in us resounds louder than evil. If we do not learn the art of looking beyond what is already present or what can be predicted based on what is given, we will never be free. The American poet Emily Dickinson expressed this delicately. Not knowing when the dawn will come, I open every door. Those who hope become receptive to the new, because hope is the midwife of the new, writes Byung-Chung Han. Grace and Monica. In a small village in an East African country, a tiny community of consecrated women lives the faith they have received by walking with the people who welcome them and sharing their joys, hopes, sufferings, and challenges. The place is far from urban centres and has little communication infrastructure, but the nature is stunningly beautiful. The large baobabs scattered throughout the area give it an arcane charm. Under one of these huge baobabs, one can even sometimes pick up a telephone signal. A young sister from another African country is assigned to this community. She is lively, intelligent, and open. After years of formation in her home country and theological studies on another continent, it is her first pastoral assignment. Let's call her Grace. The religious superior of her community, let's call her Monica, has been there since the beginning of that humble mission. In her 70s, Monica is originally from a European country, but has lived in that African nation for about 30 years. One day, years after Grace's arrival there, we were reflecting on the baobab's tree rich symbolism, its deep roots, its great branches reaching skyward, as if wanting to be rooted there too, its fruits and leaves which become food, its trunk's incredible ability to store water and survive drought, and the hollow spaces inside the trunk used as caves for shelter. Reflecting on her experience there, Grace says, "You know, for me, Monica is like a baobab." And she recounts how her collaboration with the local priest began to raise concerns at the beginning of her pastoral work. Grace felt that something was wrong. The priest's approach became stifling. Grace no longer felt safe. And so she sat in the shade of the baobab. Monica was there, rooted in human soil, concrete, realistic, true. She is rooted in God, able to make space, expand the inner caves of listening, understand another's lived experience, feel with the other, and detect her life and its threats, to offer food and drink, to share the water of life flowing in her. The two women talk to each other, look at each other, listen to each other, and weave a blessed alliance. Grace feels protected, nurtured, and supported. She is not alone. There is a baobab tree with her. Grace will face with determination and dignity the insidious dynamic that was developing, breaking certain cycles, not without suffering. With the support of Monica and her very small community, certainly not exceptional, but united, new energies, new life, and new awareness of her being a person, a woman, and a consecrated person were released in grace. Today, years later, Grace is a baobab for many young women who are now being formed for consecrated life. Ruth and Naomi, a story of loss. Naomi, who migrated from Judah to Moab during a famine, loses her husband and 2 sons. Her Moabite daughter-in-law, Ruth and Orpah, also lose their husbands, and neither has children. In her grief, Naomi decides to return to her homeland. Naomi said to her daughters-in-law, "Go back, each of you, to your mother's home. May the Lord show you kindness, as you have shown kindness to your dead and to me. May the Lord grant that each of you will find rest in the home of another husband." Then she kissed them goodbye, and they wept aloud and said to her, "We will go back with you to your people." But Naomi said, "Return home, my daughters. Why would you come with me? Am I going to have more sons who could become your husbands? Return home, my daughters. I am too old to have another husband. Even if I thought that there was still hope for me, even if I had a husband tonight and gave birth to sons, would you wait until they grew up? Would you remain unmarried for them? No, my daughters, it is more bitter for me than for you, because the Lord's hand has turned against me." At this, they wept aloud again. Then Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth clung to her. This is Ruth chapter 1, verses 8 to 14. Naomi decides to undertake a return journey, a journey not without risk. She returns to Bethlehem, leaving behind the people who had welcomed her and among whom she had lived for 10 years. She returns elderly, fragile, impoverished, and marked by suffering. Yet Naomi's gaze is outward. She sees the 2 young women and cares about their welfare. And from this gaze is born her prayer and blessing. Naomi's love is free and freeing, deeply respectful and never possessive. It is capable of closeness and care, yet also of making space, of stepping back and vanishing, so that the other might grow and flourish. Ruth and Naomi are women on the move, pilgrims, travelers, transformers. They know the pain of leaving and the experience of loss on many levels. Naomi first experienced loss when famine forces her to migrate to Moab. There she loses her husband and then both sons. Naomi is shattered by grief, so profoundly affected that she no longer recognizes her name. "Don't call me Naomi," she says. "Call me Mara, because the Almighty has made my life very bitter. I went away full, but the Lord has brought me back empty." It is a profound, soul-wrenching pain that alters her relationship with herself, changing her name, and with God. Ruth, meanwhile, is a young widow with no children. 2 stories of pain coexist. How? Sometimes pain and wounds make us bitter, and that bitterness spills onto those around us as anxiety or aggression. Wounded people often wound others, perpetuating harm. But Ruth and Naomi show a relational path that recognizes pain and channels its energy into giving and loving acceptance. Ruth clings to Naomi, choosing to follow her into another land and people. Naomi becomes a blessing for Ruth, tender, wise, and protective. Instead of passing on bitterness, she shares her true self, Naomi, meaning sweetness. In this benevolent, blessed relationship, the women's pain opens the way to the revelation of their truest, most beautiful, authentic, and radiant selves. Their mutual offering opens them to God, rediscovering more deeply and vitally. Ruth and Naomi become ancestors of the Messiah. Maya and Yvonne. Afghanistan, April 2018. It is Easter week, and I am in Kabul with a sister of mine, visiting the women's intercongregational community that runs a small school for children with disabilities from disadvantaged backgrounds. This project sadly had to end with the arrival of the Taliban in Kabul in August 2021. Two sisters, let's call them Maya and Yvonne, are there. They are members of different institutes from different continents. They live in a small house beside the school in a city suburb. Beneath their beds, bags are always packed with essentials for emergencies. Everything is small and precarious, but well-tended and full of light. About 40 children attend, divided into 4 classes of 10, and Afghan teachers and a local cook. Each morning, mothers bring their children. Some wear full burqas, others the hijab. They approach with familiarity, enter easily through the small gate, warmly greet the sisters, and welcome us with kindness. Maya and Yvonne tell us that these women often bring more than just their children. They bring anguish and unspeakable suffering. Once inside, many remove their burqas and sit sharing their stories. Eyes meet, woman to woman, sister to sister. The center becomes a safe human space of listening, care, solidarity, and blessed alliance. The mothers, once again veiled, step out into the city. Gradually, Maya and Yvonne say, many husbands and fathers also come, often during school events celebrating the children. The small school becomes a humble beacon of compassionate, supportive humanity. Contact with these foreign sisters, dressed in Afghan style, non-Muslim, broken Dari speakers, caring for the vulnerable, transforms into respect, then trust, and finally friendship. The culture of care travels this way, silently through the precious mediation of the children, reaching the hearts of mothers, fathers, and families. We celebrate Easter with Maya and Yvonne at the only Catholic chapel in Afghanistan, the Italian embassy, where the ecclesiastical superior of the Missio Sub Iudice resides. To get there, we take a taxi across Kabul. The embassy zone is heavily militarized, but the Afghan and foreign soldiers Now recognize the sisters and let them pass without resistance. At the embassy, we meet NATO soldiers who have walked from the nearby base to attend Mass. I can't help noticing the striking difference between their presence and that of the sisters, beginning with attire. The NATO troops, heavily equipped, slowly removed their gear. The radiant and fragile sisters wear soft Afghan fabrics and a delicate Islamic-style veil, with the crucifix around their necks, jealously guarded and hidden under the light dress. I am reminded of the image of David, who, stripping off Saul's armor, faced Goliath unarmed, with only stones and a sling, trusting not in himself, but in God. I will never forget a NATO officer's words. These two women, extraordinary, humble and dedicated, do infinitely more for these people than all of us soldiers put together. Appearing at the Loggia of Blessing at St. Peter's Basilica on the 8th of May 2025, newly elected Pope Leo XIV greeted the world. Peace be with you all. Dear brothers and sisters, these are the first words of the risen Christ, the Good Shepherd who laid down his life for God's flock. I would like this greeting of peace to echo in your hearts, reach your families, extend to all peoples, everywhere, in every nation, throughout the entire world. Peace be with you. This is the peace of the risen Christ, a peace that is unarmed and disarming, humble and persevering. It comes from God, the God who loves us all unconditionally. So many women, often in the world's hidden corners, weave the threads of this peace, disarmed and disarming, humble and persevering. Quietly and skillfully, they become guardians of life, weaving and repairing it, helping make the world more humane and compassionate, and building a culture of care patiently and steadfastly. I think especially of so many consecrated women around the world, often in places where humanity is most wounded, in history's abysses, on society's margins, and at the frontiers. Mary and Elizabeth, Ruth and Naomi, Grace and Monica, Maya and Yvonne, and many, many others. Women of faith, women of strength, women of charity, women of hope, weavers of disarmed and disarming peace. Sisters and brothers, may this conference be a space to cultivate this peace within us, among us, in our families and communities, in our ministries and services, in our journeys, renewing good networks, deep bonds, processes of life, care and mutual protection. Thank you and God bless you. Sister Simona Brambilla.